Hi guys, my name is Bobby. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be doing my September wrap-up. So first off, I'm really sorry in advance. I just ate my weight in Thai food, so maybe if there's a lot of cuts, it may be because I get really gassy. Probably TMI, but just so you know. So for the month of September, I really didn't stick to my TBR. I don't even remember if I don't even remember what was on my TBR, let's be honest. And I just kind of did my own thing a little bit. I read a couple that were good and a couple that weren't, and I just slumped really bad. I ended up reading 8 books in the month of September, which isn't terrible, but it's not the best ever either. But I slumped really hard, and towards the end, I ended up reading 3 books on audiobook. Who the fuck am I? No one knows. Okay, so the first book that is kind of a DNF is The Black Prison by Brent Weeks. This isn't a real DNF. This is like a sit down and wait for later. We made it about 138, or I made it about 138 pages, and Monica made it 150. And we were buddy reading this together. Monica's one of my subscribers, and while it was good and I was engaged, I just got to a point where I had set it down for so long because I was reading other things that I just didn't feel the need to pick it back up. Like, I just didn't want to. And then I just asked her, can we just set it down and go back to it later? And like, I feel really guilty about it, but it's thick, and I mean, it's good. Like, The Black Prism is book 1 of a fantasy series. I think book 4 is about to come out. And it's a high fantasy series where the magic system revolves completely around colors, which is a really cool concept. The prism is like the one person in all of the land, or the world, who can control all the colors. Other people who have magic can only control 1, maybe 2 colors. So he can control them all. There's chunks of this world that are at war. Like, you get flashbacks to when there was the first big war, and the Prism Gavin and like his brother were like at odds at each other during the war. Like, there was all this stuff going on. It was really good. Like, I was really enjoying it. I was really engaged. And the chapters are really short. It's really easy to read. It's a very readable high fantasy. I just couldn't get motivated to pick it up. Like, plain and simple. Like, and this is an instance where it's not the book, it's me. And I do want to read this, but I'm going to have to pick it up at a later date. I really got into a mode this month where I just didn't feel like picking up a physical book and reading. I lost all motivation. But this one we're putting on the back burner, and we will finish it eventually. Next, which is an actual DNF that I will be putting in my unhaul pile, is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. This was my BookTube darling pick for September, and it was a complete flop. I only made it, I think, maybe 50 pages, and this book is just not for me. I did not jive with the writing style. It is way too flowery, way too purple of writing. It was just so over the top that I felt myself just going, ugh. Like, nope. It's just not the book for me. And there's nothing wrong with the book itself. It's very, very well beloved. There's a lot about it that people absolutely enjoy. It's just really not my book, so this was a DNF, and I will be donating it. The next book that I DNF'd, and I have DNF'd this for the 3rd and final time. I will be donating this and its sequel, and I'm really bummed about it. But that's Sweet Pea by C.J. Scoose. Now, I have tried to read this 3 times. I was hoping it'd be like a Nevernight, where 3rd time's the charm. I started reading this one again, struggled with it, switched to audio, hoping that might help, because this takes place in the UK, and I was hoping, okay, if it's read to me, and I love stuff based in the UK. I read a lot of stuff that's set there, and like some of their slang, like, I struggle with, like, knowing what it's about, but, like, Cody's been really helpful in that. And some of it I know just from movies or whatever, where it's kind of explained to you. But this one, like, and the premise is so good. This is about a girl named Rhiannon, who's a female serial killer. And it's a trilogy, I believe. The second book, where is it? It's, like, right here. So the second book, In Bloom, I have as well. I bought them both together, because this was recommended by Leanne over at Literary Diversions, and she loved it, and absolutely, she talked it up, and so I was like, oh, I gotta read these. Like, a female serial killer who's sarcastic and witty and just kind of bitchy on top of it. Like, fuck yeah, I want to read it. I just couldn't get very far. Like, how far did I get into this before I stopped? Like, maybe 100 pages, and it's told in diary format, so, like, with dates, you know, and stuff like that. And it's Rhiannon's diary, and it's talking about her and, like, her life. It's like slice of life, but she's also a serial killer. She really enjoys killing things. the first person she kills is like right at the start of the book, and it was really interesting how she did it, and it was really intriguing, but it just wasn't engaging. Like, there was nothing happening that really sucked me in and made me want to keep reading it, and which was really annoying because the premise is so cool, and the third time, I've tried 3 times, and it's obviously just not going to happen. And I paid extra for this to get it shipped from the UK because I couldn't find it from a US bookseller. And, yeah, so I guess I'm donating both of these, which makes me really sad. But I tried. Like, I know a lot of people love it. Rosie from, why can't I think of her name? I can't think of her name right now, but she loves it. She's another booktuber, and then Leanne really loves it, and maybe it just went over my head and I didn't really enjoy it because of how strong it is in the UK vibes, to where, you know, the places, the things that are happening, the language used just didn't appeal to me because I am not from the UK, but usually that doesn't bother me, but yeah, it just was a miss, so I'm donating it. I mean, if I tried reading it 3 times, I even tried it on audiobook, and I still can't get through it. It's just not going to happen. Okay, speaking of audiobooks, now I'll talk about the books that I read on audio. Towards the end of the month, middle end of the month, I fell into a slump thanks to a particular book. And it wasn't a slump, it was more of a book hangover, which I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. But because of that, falling into a book hangover, like, I really just didn't want to read. I didn't want to pick up any physical books. Nothing sounded good. I would just stare at my shelves and nothing sounded good. So I was watching Julie at A Girl in a Book, and she was talking about all these different crime and true crime audiobooks that she had listened to in, I think, the month of August. And it was like, ooh, okay, audiobooks and I don't really get along. And I've tried multiple times, and I can't focus on it enough to retain the information, so they just don't work for me. So I figured, you know, maybe with true crime, because it's just a lot like, and I think I mentioned this a little bit in my October TBR, that it's just like when I watch Deadly Women, a lot of times I have it on and I'm like doing something on my tablet, but I can still hear it, I'm still retaining it, and I'll stop and look every once in a while. Maybe if I read or listen to a true crime audiobook, it'll be easier for me, and like I'll be able to retain it. And because I was in like a book hangover, I decided to listen to a true crime book on audio. And that book was Lady Killers, Deadly Women Throughout History by Tori Telfer. Yes. So I went on Scribd and I found this book, and it was really, really good. So it is a book all about female serial killers throughout history, and the introduction talks about how a lot of, like, especially back in the day, like they said there was no such thing as female serial killers. It was predominantly just only males, and this pretty much proves it wrong. While I did enjoy it, I think I gave it 3 stars. While I did enjoy it, there was certain things that I didn't like. One thing that I loved was that none of the stories took place after like 1955. So all of them are really old. Some of them like super old, like 1600s, 1400s. There was even a story from the 1100s. So I mean, that was cool. That aspect of like, she really did her research to learn about these women. That I really loved. But on the flip side of that, one of the reasons why I didn't enjoy it, every single female serial killer, save for one, I think, were all poisoners. Every single one of them. And it's well known that women, when they kill, poison tends to be one of their favorite things to use as a method to kill because it's not messy. It's, you know, they always use that term. Well, women are usually the ones that clean up after everything, and they don't want to have to clean up the mess of like a stabbing or a shooting with all the blood and the mess and the gore. You know, a poisoning is really easy. They most time die in their sleep. The most is just vomit, which, you know, whatever. And so that was annoying because it got redundant, and hearing about tons of poisoner stories got very, very redundant. But it was still fascinating because some of the ones, like there was this one story, and I think it was the 1700s, and it was like in the Russia or Ukraine or somewhere like over there in the UK, like or not in the UK, in Europe. But it was in like Northern Europe, like desolate. I'm pretty sure it was Russia. But it was this really cool story, like a 1800s in this very, very small town, and the women were just tired. Women weren't treated very well by the men. There wasn't many people in the town. It was very small. And so one of these women who, like, she was a poisoner pretty much, and so she taught all these women how to get rid of their problem husbands and their problem children, and it was interesting. It was very, very interesting. So, like, a lot of it was really cool, and I really did enjoy it, and I did enjoy the stories. The one famous story that was in there was Elizabeth Bathory, which most people know who she is, the one that bathed in the blood of virgins. which is completely not true, and she explains that in the story that she wasn't, and that's a lot of vampire lore is based off of her. She was not a vampire. She didn't drink blood or anything like that. She was just a fucking sadist. She was just a sadist, and she liked to inflict pain on people. She reminds me a lot of Madame Lalaurie, who was featured in American Horror Story and Coven, the woman who lived in New Orleans in Louisiana in like the 1800s, who abused her slaves horribly and kept them locked up in an attic and did all sorts of torturous, horrible things to them. She reminds me a lot of Elizabeth Bathory after reading her actual story. They're very similar. But I would recommend it if you're really interested in female serial killers. I love that it did a lot of like very old ones, that like ones I'd never heard of before. Like I said, I love Deadly Women, so it was nice hearing stories of women I'd never heard of before. I expected to hear, you know, some of the ones like that I'd heard, you know, already, but I didn't. The one from the 50s, I think, was featured on Deadly Women. I can't remember her name, but she ended up getting away with her murders. But it was like one of those ones that was like, okay, I recognize that name, I recognize her. But the rest of them I had no idea except for Elizabeth Bathory. Other than that, I had never heard of them before, and I highly recommend it on audio. The audiobook narrator was very, very good. But yeah, I gave that one 3 stars. So after that, because that was towards the end of the month, then I just kept listening on audio because I didn't want to pick up a physical book. And while I own these physical books, I listen to them on audio, and that's City of Glass by Cassandra Clare and Clockwork Prince by Clockwork Angel, excuse me. Clockwork Prince is like next on the list, by Cassandra Clare. So this, I read first. This is book 3 in the Mortal Instruments. So this finishes out the last part of the Mortal Instruments trilogy. I have all of the Infernal Devices, and I have the next 2 in the Mortal Instruments. So then all I have left to get is book 6 in the Mortal Instruments and all of the Dark Artifices. And I will own the entire groups of trilogies. I don't know if I'm going to do the short story collections. People say that they're really good and they give you more insight, but they're not a requirement to read the series. Like, you'll still understand. And honestly, I'm not a big fan of short story collections, so I probably won't get them. But anyway, City of Glass, finished it out. I gave this one 3 stars. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great either. The way the villain was killed was kind of very like, well, that was it. Like, you know, it was kind of like a build up into nothing, but I did really enjoy it. I love a lot of the characters. Isabel Lightwood is one of my favorite characters. She's amazing. Same with Magnus Bane. He's also super awesome. But yeah, this finished off the series. I mean, it's a chunk. I mean, I guess if I counted all the pages I read this month between the 2 Cassandra Clare books, it would jump up my count. But I finished City of Glass, so I'm done with the first 3 of the Mortal Instruments. And after I read City of Glass, then I picked up Clockwork Angel, which is book 1 of the Infernal Devices. This is a prequel trilogy to the Mortal Instruments. So this takes place in is it the 1800s London? It's Victorian London. So yes, 1800s London. So this takes place in Victorian London, and you follow Tessa Gray is the main character in this one. I don't even know why I'm explaining this. Most people know what the, Cassandra Clare books are, but I think I have more adult readers on my channel than young adult readers, so if you don't know, I guess I'm telling you. But Tessa Gray is coming from America. She ends up in the Institute in London. The institute in the Mortal Instruments is the New York Institute, which is like where the Shadowhunter base is. And this one, it's the London Institute. And her brother has sent her a letter saying that she needs to come to London now that their aunt has died and she was taking care of her. So she boards a ship, gets to London, and chaos ensues. So she ends up in the London Institute. The interesting thing about Tessa, and this is like mild spoiler, is that she is not a shadow hunter. It's not like Clary in these books where she's a shadow hunter and doesn't know it. Tessa is not a shadow hunter. She's something else, and they're trying to figure out what she is and why the villain wants her. So that's kind of where this goes. This has Will Herondale in it, which I guess is some people's favorite character of all time in the Shadowhunter series. I don't really care for him yet. He's kind of a douchebag. Like, technically, okay, again, another mild spoiler, or I guess this is kind of considered a major spoiler for the Mortal Instruments. But he is Jace's great-great-grandfather, I think. So he's a descendant, or Jace is a descendant of Will Herondale. Will is an ass, but I think he's more of a douche than Jace in a lot of ways. Jem, though, is he's a complete cinnamon roll baby, and I absolutely love him. I have a bad feeling he's going to die by the end of the series, but that's fine. It's fine. I don't get emotional in books, but I am pretty attached. Like, I do love the series. It is really easy to listen to, like, on audio. Like, these were so easy to retain, and I think this was easy because I already knew the characters, I knew the setting, I knew who everybody was, so as it was being read to me, like, it was easy for me to picture because I already knew these people. I've already been acquainted with them for a while now. Where this one, I was kind of nervous. I'm like, well, I haven't met these guys yet. But it was still easy to retain. It was still easy to picture. I really like Tessa. I think she's a really interesting character. She's a far better main character than Clary, by far. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one. This one I think I gave 4. 4, I believe. But next I have City of Fallen Angels and Clockwork Prince. So I'll read City of Fallen Angels and then Clockwork Prince. I'm going to listen to those on audio most likely because I kind of like that, although I am still collecting the books. City of Fallen Angels, like I said in my TBR, is narrated by Ed Westwick from Gossip Girl, and I swoon. His voice is beautiful and perfect for audiobooks. And it's fun to listen to him switch from his normal speaking voice into his American accent. It's just, oh, perfection. But yeah, I will continue listening to those, though I haven't listened to anything in like 3 or 4 days, 5 days, because I'm just a sack of shit. But I plan to keep listening to those on audio. Okay, next we will get into, just to get it out of the way, the book that threw me into one of the worst book hangovers I think I've had in a long time. That's Dark Dawn by Jay Kristoff. And also, my beautiful Illumicrate edition of Dark Dawn. Okay, so this is the American version of Dark Dawn, which goes with my American editions of Nevernight and God's Grave. This is a signed first edition. There is nothing special about the American Dark Dawns at all. They're just gray underneath the dust jacket. The only thing is that they're signed. And mine is signed by Jay. And it was fun watching him on Instagram sign all of the inserts. Let's see, where is it? It's like in a special Dark Dawn insert. So there it is, signed by Jay Kristoff, which goes with my signed God's Grave. Nevernight's not signed. So I have this one, the American version, and then I got the Illumicrate box, which if you can kind of see behind me maybe, like that is an art print from that box, the Dark Dawn Recovery box with Trick and Mia. There's the pins there. This was in there. That is a bath bomb. There's a blanket right here. Like, hold on, this is going to be gross. So there's a blanket right there that my cat Herman is sleeping on, my fat ass. That blanket came in the Dark Dawn crate, Illumicrate Dark Dawn recovery box. It is a really cool blanket that has Eclipse and Mr. Kindly on it, as well as the 3 suns. It's really cool, and that is not right. There we go. But yeah, he has claimed that blanket is his. But we got, so this is the UK version of Dark Dawn, which is absolutely gorgeous, and it's got yellow sprayed edges, which was Illumicrate, their logo is yellow, so that is really cool. The inside of these are just, the UK, it's bullshit. The UK gets more beautiful books than the US does, but there's the signed, his signature there, and it's just gorgeous. And, like, Mr. Kindly, I don't know if you can see that, maybe, but it goes all the way across, like, just like it does on the front cover. It's this, but just embossed, like, it doesn't even say Dark Dawn on the side. It's just, oh my god, it's just gorgeous. Like the end pages, like everything about this is just beautiful. So I read, I guess I should put this back on. I still maintain that it's bullshit that the UK, that UK editions are way more beautiful than the US. Granted, the US has their own kind of beauty. Like every single one of them has Mia on it in some form. But the art on the UK editions of the Nevernight Chronicles are just gorgeous. Because if you know anything about the book, or like after you've read the book, like looking into the illustration, you will see so many things that are in the book that you wouldn't know. And it's, oh, they're just beautiful. But yeah, this put me in a horrific book hangover. Horribly bad. Like so bad. It was absolutely amazing. 5 stars. Absolutely loved it. It was everything I wanted. The ending I kind of called, but it was fine. I liked the way it wrapped up. Everything was amazing. There's a new character in this one called, named Cloud Corion, and he is amazing. I would follow a book just about him and Little John. Like, I would read that in a heartbeat. Granted, I will read anything Jay Kristoff writes, but I would love, like, that character was fucking amazing. But yeah, this put me in a horrible book slump, so, or a book hangover. So this will go next to my regular Dark Dawn on my favorite shelf. So I have the American edition of Nevernight and God's Grave, and then my 2 Dark Dawns. which, you know, I'm not obsessive enough to buy like 40, but I really liked, since I love this series so much, I really wanted the Illumicrate Hangover box, because we got to get all the Dark Dawn Nevernight content and stuff that you don't really see, because most book boxes that I've all seen, they're all YA. There is no good adult book box. I guess Unplugged does an adult box, but almost everything is YA. And so Dark Dawn, Nevernight, and God's Grave are not YA. They're adult. Though sometimes people sneak stuff in there, but it was just, you know, it was a whole box full of J. Kristoff Nevernight stuff. I got a mug that's really cool. I got a Mia figurine that's like their own Mia, like Funko Pop version. She doesn't stand on her own. She's got to lean against the books or against a candle. But the bookmarks, like, oh, there was just so many cool things. I don't know if you can see them up there. But above my head, there's a map of Atreya, which is the world, and then there's also another Mia print. But anyways, yeah, I will stop talking about Dark Dawn now. It was great, 5 stars, absolutely fucking loved it. Threw me into a horrible book hangover. I only have 2 more left, and both of them weren't that great. But they're both Book of the Month books, so at least I knocked 2 Book of the Month books out of the way. They will not be staying on my shelves. They will be donated. And the first one is The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. Unpopular opinion time. This book fucking sucked. Like, why everybody says that this is the best thriller of the year. No. This book was terrible. Like, this is like Riley Sager Final Girl's terrible. Like, no. I don't think I'm going to read Ruth Ware anymore. I've read The Woman in Cabin 10. I have not read The Death of Mr. Westaway, which everybody says is great. The Woman in Cabin 10, I didn't mind. It was okay. It was more of a cozy mystery, kind of Agatha Christie-like. This one was trying really hard to be a scary thriller, and from what I understand, it's a retelling of The Turn of the Screw. So if you have any knowledge of that story, you're going to probably know the ending of this one. I just didn't like it. It was so predictable. And the twists that were in the middle were so anticlimactic and didn't really matter. It was just like, really? That's the twist? Ooh, haven't seen that before. You know, like, it was just, it wasn't cool. It wasn't fun. And then the ending was dumb, anticlimactic. It wasn't a good ending. I just didn't like this book. And I'm not going to spoil it because I know everybody loves it. And I'm very much the unpopular opinion. So go out there and read it if you want, because I'm very unpopular in my opinion. I just did not like it. It was just one of those ones where I was like, really? I think I ended up giving this one 2 stars. It was just, I think I'm done with Ruth Ware. I don't trust them to like anything else. I definitely don't trust Books and Lala now. She rated this 5 stars, so we're the best thrillers of the year. It's not. Like, I mean, I guess I've read so many thrillers now that they all are pretty much the same. There's nothing really new that they can do. I mean, this is about a woman who took a job as a nannying position up in the Scotland Highlands in this really fancy, expensive mansion that's a smart house where it locks doors for you. It pretty much watches you all the time. And she's going to nanny these 3 kids. She's not very qualified for the job, and she kind of lies to get the job. And, like, she's telling the story in letters to a barrister or, no, barrister's a judge in the UK. Or the equivalent of a lawyer. Is a barrister? No, barrister's a judge, right? What is a lawyer? I can't remember the UK name for a lawyer. Solicitor? Is that it? Maybe that's it. But yeah, she's emailing. She's writing letters to them from jail saying that one of the kids had died. It wasn't her fault, but she's being charged with the murder of that child. So then you kind of go from there, and it goes back into time, and she's telling the whole story, and it was fucking stupid, and I don't recommend it. But I'm also a snobby bitch when it comes to thrillers, so everybody else has loved it, and I'm the unpopular opinion, so you can go ahead and give it a shot, but I gave it 2 stars. And the last book that I read, which this isn't completely in order, but whatever, but the last book I'm going to talk about is a book that was an impromptu buddy read with Vicky, and is also one of my Book of the Month picks, and that's 3 Women by Lisa Tadeo. Sorry if I butchered her name. But I read this with Vicky impromptu. Like, she had it on her TBR, so did I, and we're just like, okay, let's pick it up together and read it together. This disappointed me on so many levels. This is a nonfiction about 3 women, shocker, that, how do I put this? Okay, so the author did a lot of research, and she was trying to write a story about women and their sexualities and their desires and how they process their desires and stuff like that, and comparison with men and all that. So she picked the 3 women that she thought had the strongest stories and put them in here. Now, the way the book is told, or the story is told, it's told almost like a fiction, which was kind of cool, and not written in the very clinical term like a nonfiction would be written. But I didn't like any of the stories. I didn't like any of the women's stories. So first you have Maggie, who, okay, so I'm going to spoil this book. So if you don't want to read it, click off and like come back in a little bit when I put the book down, because then I'll be, you know, kind of wrapping this up. Or, you know, if you just want to go, okay, bye, thank you for watching. But I'm going to spoil this because there was, I just have some thoughts. So, and with it being a nonfiction, I kind of have to spoil it. So first we have Maggie. Okay, spoiler starting. First we have Maggie. Maggie is in her early 20s, and she is, hers part of the story is that she had a sexual relationship with one of her teachers when she was in high school. And it is about her going to trial and reporting him once she realizes that he's winning Teacher of the Year. And so she comes forward going, hey, this guy and I had a sexual relationship. Okay. What I didn't like about Maggie's story was she comes from a really shitty broken home. Her dad committed suicide. There was just a lot of turmoil in her home. She was kind of seen as a fast, loose girl, always partying, drinking, sleeping around, whatever, that kind of thing. And the teacher didn't actually have sex with her, like full intercourse. It was just oral sex that he was giving to her, but she never gave to him. So it was all kissing, making out, and oral sex. Him giving to her, which is still pedophilia, and it's still inappropriate because she was like a 16, 17-year-old girl and he was an adult male. So it's still wrong and inappropriate, but it was kind of weird. It wasn't the same. Oh shit. It wasn't the same as what you normally hear in, you know, student-teacher relationships. But he tells her that on her 18th birthday and his 30th birthday or whatever, that they will run away together. Of course, that doesn't happen. So she is, in her perspective, like, she kind of becomes obsessed with him, and, you know, like, they still have this relationship. He writes notes in Twilight, which was her favorite book, you know, how comparing, like, her and him to Bella and Edward, and, like, all this stuff. And he's married with kids, mind you. And they end up, in the trial, they just totally railroad her and pretty much say that she's unreliable and she's a piece of shit and she had to be making this up because her dad committed suicide. She has such a shitty family life. She's just leeching on to anything she can and blah, blah, blah. It pissed me off so fucking much because he got off scot-free and didn't get charged. And she was pretty much looked at as this, like, nasty piece of shit girl that only did this for attention. And it was really upsetting because even with all the evidence where you could see, like, they had the text messages between the two where it was clearly inappropriate. And, like, his wife backed him up, even though his wife saw the text messages were talking about them meeting up and this, you know, the sex. And it pissed me off. Okay, so then we have Sloane. And Sloane is a woman who is kind of a swinger. So her and her husband have been married for many, many years, and her husband likes to watch her sleep with other men and women, and he gets off on it. And even when she's with somewhere else or off somewhere else without him, he likes it when she sleeps with other people. He just wants her to tape it on her phone so he could see the action. Which is kind of twisted, but she seems to enjoy it. She likes that her husband's so open, but she struggled watching him fuck another woman at the same time. So it's kind of like, and we don't get much of Sloane. She's in here a lot less than the other two women. And I was more interested in her story because hers is different and off the wall. And it was like, well, how does this function? And it ended up being like one of those stories where the only reason she is this adventurous about sex is because during her childhood, she was kind of ignored and pushed to the side in favor of her older brother. And she had an eating disorder. Nobody noticed. Like, everybody kind of ignored her. So she decided to have fun sexually to feel alive and blah, blah, blah. And for me, I'm like, really? That's it? Like, I thought the whole point of this was female empowerment. I thought the whole point of this was talking to women about their sexuality and their desires and how to empower other women to, like, be, like, it's okay if you're a little kinky. It's okay if, you know, you like this or that. Like, there's a lot of women out there who are just like you, who don't just like basic vanilla missionary sex. That wasn't the case in this book. It pretty much was saying that, you know, misogyny is all there is, and it's all about men and pleasing them, and there's nothing you can do. And it fucking pissed me off. And then we get to Lena, who irritated me even more. I might drop this to a 2-star, because the more I talk about it, the angrier I'm getting. And then you would get to Lena, and Lena made me so incredibly sad. It was so depressing. Lena is a woman who's like in her mid-30s. She's like my age. She's like 35. She's been married to the same man for years. They have 2 children who are younger. So kind of like Vicky's kids' age. But her husband refuses to kiss her because he doesn't like the sensation. He doesn't like the feeling. The feeling grosses him out. It's grotesque to him. So he won't kiss her. And of course, she's feeling completely alone and empty and emotionally abandoned, and she's starving. She's starving for any kind of affection. He barely even hugs her or touches her. They haven't had sex in 3 months. He just won't touch her and he won't kiss her, and all she wants to do is to be held and appreciated and loved. So she hooks up or finds her first boyfriend in high school, Aiden, on Facebook. And Aiden and her dated in high school and she was madly in love with him, but he ended up breaking up with her because a rumor went around school that she was this big old slut and slept with 3 guys in one night. She didn't fucking sleep with 3 guys in one night. She was gang raped. She was drugged and gang raped at 16 years old, 17 years old. She went to a party or whatever, and one of the guys that was there was friends with her older sister. They drugged her drink and took turns gang raping her. And, you know, like, she describes it very small, like very short. But because of that, the rumor spread around the school that she slept with 3 guys in one night. So then her boyfriend broke up with her and she never told him what actually happened. Now they're adults. They've reconnected on Facebook. Aiden is married as well and has a daughter or whatever, but he's kind of unhappy kind of in his relationship, but he doesn't want to leave his wife. Lena just wants affection and somebody to pay attention to her, so they end up hooking up. And they end up having an affair. And it's the dumbest, most lamest affair. Like, it wasn't like passionate or loving. And the thing is Lena is telling the story to like a woman's group, and it wasn't good. Like, I was thinking, I was like, okay, she's gonna hook up with this old flame, they're gonna reconnect, they're gonna leave their spouses and like live happily ever after and like finally get what they both want. Yeah, nope. Aiden is just as much a douchebag as her husband is. I mean, yeah, he'll kiss her and, you know, fuck her, but that's about it. Like, she has to meet up when he wants to. It's never when she wants to, only when he wants to. Like, she's got to drop everything. She's always trying to keep him interested. Like, it's just all her trying and trying and trying, and it bordered on desperation, and it became so fucking desperate, and I just felt so bad for her. It's like, girl, you are worth so much more than that. Leave your dumb ass husband. Like, I'm sorry. The therapist says that, yes, it's legit to find that kissing is offensive or you don't like the sensation or the feeling. Okay, but you wouldn't have been doing all that kissing and fucking all the way up until now. Now all of a sudden you have this affliction and you don't apologize for it, and it's pretty much used as an excuse not to touch your wife. Sorry, don't believe you. So I had a hard time grappling with that, and then I just wanted her to leave. Leave your fucking husband, split custody of the kids, don't date Aiden because he's just fucking using you to get laid and he's treating you like absolute shit, and go find somebody who appreciates you. Like, you know, I wanted her to like get her gumption and, you know, kind of like get in her groove back and like get out there. Nope. She stayed stuck to Aiden, and it was full of, you know, raunchy hotel sex that was meaningless, and like all the effort on her, or like her meeting him down by the river and just having sex in the car, like her straddling him and her doing all the work and him just like sitting there, and her trying so hard to be sexy for him, to keep him, because she was getting the attention that she'd been wanting for so long. It was just so sad, and it was so desperate, and it was just, I was pissed. I was fucking pissed. I'm done holding that. I was so pissed off by the time I got to the end of that book. I guess spoilers are done. I was so angry, and Vicky and I were talking back and forth while we were reading it, and I think I'm going to lower it to a 2-star. Both of us agreed by the end that it was not what we were expecting. We were expecting, you know, an empowerment, like all about, you know, women taking a hold of their sexuality and being empowered in their sexuality and stuff like that, and it was nothing like that at all. It was all like, these women, oh, poor them, like, none of them have had happy endings. All of them had sad and depressing endings. It really, really upset me, and it pissed me off, and it's not what it advertised itself to be, and that really irritated me. And I was looking at the Goodreads reviews and like star ratings, and it barely has above a 3-star rating. So I'm lowering mine to a 2 because I just can't. It just really, really upset me, and I don't recommend it because you're not going to get what you're looking for. If you want to be depressed and you want to feel like, okay, there is no hope for anybody, then go ahead and read it. Okay, guys, that's it. That is my September wrap-up. It was kind of a sad month. The best thing I read all month, of course, was Dark Dawn. Failed buddy read. A buddy read that we ended up not liking the book. And 2 more Cassandra Clare books down. And a failed reading vlog that ended up going up anyways because I just read Dark Dawn instead, but I hope this month goes better. I'm already kind of like, and the only thing I've done is I've been reading The Troop with Vicky. I haven't started anything else yet, and I really need to. Like, I'm just feeling kind of, I need to start The Cruel Prince so I can start vlogging that. But I think with my vlogs, I'm going to try to do most of my vlogging on my camera, which is going to be tough because I'm going to have to hold it on the stand, and I can't see myself in it, so I'm going to hope that you'll be, it won't be like a whole bunch of this. Hopefully I'm not that stupid. But yeah, that's it. Please let me know what you read in the month of September. Let me know what you guys thought of any of these books. And I will see you in the next one.